This is Demystifying Gay Porn. My name is Ike Grande, and I'm going to be your host. My guest this week is originally from Albany, Georgia, a transplant to New York City, OnlyFans porn star, now studio porn star as well, because the studios love you, and a dramatic artist, right? Musical and dramatic artist.
Physical theater and acting.
Without any further delay, Max Konnor, thank you so much for sitting down with me and
absolutely
joining me today. And I just have to also mention that off camera at the moment we have Avatar Akia, right?
Yes.
Hey, what's happening, Lil Supreme?
We will get an interview with him coming up. I did not know he was going to be here, and plate's full. I got 3 people today.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I had to get him in, because I think that talking to porn stars and doing this podcast has been so far really, really cool. It's been very well received. So I was like, let me get a couple guys in whenever I can, and just get down to it. So Max Konnor, tell us a little bit about how you started, and why you became a porn star.
Oh, okay. All right. So if we want to go back to the beginning, I originally sort of started porn back in 2008-ish. I only did it for like a little less than a year, and I was total bottom then.
Really?
Yeah, I was just a little twinkie bottom,
Okay.
trying to prove to the world that I could take some pains. And then I did that for a little bit, and then I stopped, and I got a job at a little place called Starbucks, and I stayed there for at least 7 years.
Okay.
I was a manager there for a good bit, and then one day I decided, you know what, I did not come to New York to work at Starbucks, even though it was a great job. So I decided to just leave, and I started auditioning, and everything went from there.
You auditioned?
Go
on. I was just gonna say you auditioned for.
Yeah, I did theater, and then closer to the last 2 years that I was acting, I did film and television. And then the last thing I did in television was a ABC pilot called Salamander. And they didn't pick us up, and I got a little discouraged. I was getting older, and I decided that I needed a little bit more stability. I got tired of having my dream job for 6 months and then being unemployed. And I was looking at, my friends who had been, in various Broadway shows and various television shows who were like hitting 50, and they're asking to stay on my sofa, and I just didn't want that route. And long story short, I came to the conclusion that my passion didn't exceed the compromise of the art anymore. So I talked to my partner, and I talked to some of my best friends. I was like, you guys, you know what? I think I'm going to go back into porn. And everybody thought I was crazy. It was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, no, trust me, I've done it before. I know the industry. I know how it works. I think I can really do this. Some people were for it. Some people were against it. But I went ahead with it anyway. And I started doing Snapchat. Yeah, I started doing Snapchat, and then I learned about OnlyFans, and I started doing OnlyFans, and then Q from Braided Raw hit me up at the same time. Another company hit me up, and so I didn't know which route I wanted to go yet, and so they were just like going back and forth, and this one offering this and this one offering higher than that. So I ended up doing Braided Raw with Q, and then everything went from there.
What do you see as the main difference? Because now you're a producer too, so you produce your own stuff. There's obviously a difference between studio porn and making your own porn. What is the biggest challenge when it comes to your own productions?
So when I started making my homemade porn, I wanted to be a something that fans and followers could have a glimpse of what I do off of set. So I knew right away I didn't want it to be overproduced. I didn't want it to appear as if I was trying to create a low budget studio situation. I wanted it to be homemade porn. And it's really interesting over the past 2 years or so, how the quality and everything has just gotten better. Like sometimes I go back and look at videos I made when I first started. And I was like, oh God, let's delete that.
I've seen a lot of videos, and your videos are you put them together well. And there's I've seen people that do, because I've perused, because you kind of have to, because well, it's one of those things where, especially when you're working for a larger studio and you're there, you're like, okay, well, this is competition. What's the competition? What does it have to look like? There's a lot of models who they make like 2-minute clips. They put them up. And they get their people to buy them, and I don't know, it's just different. Your clips are longer, your clips are better put together. So I think that eventually what happens with these fan sites, or what will happen, is it's going to get weeded out. Like all the models that really know and they're going to put their shit together well will stick around, because it's work. It's a lot of work. I don't think people realize how much work
I think a lot of people realize that everybody can't be a producer. It's not a hobby. It's not something to say, oh, I'm just going to make a little extra money on the side. Like, if you want to do it and you want it to be successful, you have to put work into it. I was lucky enough to where I worked hard to where my homemade stuff, my exclusive stuff, and my studio stuff both flow very well together,
Having done your own productions, having been involved with a lot of studios, what's the best studio that you've worked with?
Oh, the best studio. You trying to get me in trouble? All right, let's see.
And that can be like, just a good memory that you have, like, they did this, they did that, they treated us well, they had amazing craft services, just.
I think the best studio that I've worked with would have to be Nora Mail.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what's coming next? What's been the not so positive studio to have worked with? In other words, what's the worst studio you've ever worked with?
I'm trying to think. It's right on the tip of my tongue. There's several.
Okay. Oh, there's several. Okay.
Yeah.
I know what it is. We don't even have to say it if you don't want to. You can just tell us the experience if you want.
I'll tell you the experience.
Okay.
All right. So I worked for a company down south, and it was sort of a retreat kind of project. And so there were several models who all went down into, oh my God, I can't explain this without telling you who Stu is. All went down, hung out in this house, and made some beautiful content. And there was a situation that happened with one of the models. Long story short, one of the models ended up losing a finger.
Oh, okay.
And I felt like the whole situation was handled entirely wrong. I was the only person that ran to the model's rescue while everyone else just sat and watched.
Really?
I brought the model back up to the main house, and at that point we didn't really know what was happening. He was in and out of consciousness, and it wasn't until we got back to the house that somebody brought me a red cup that had half of a finger in it. I noticed, oh, he's missing a finger. So I yelled at the producers, and I was like, we need to get in a car right now and we need to go to the hospital. But we were in the middle of nowhere, and the closest hospital was maybe an hour away. I was like, well, we just need to get in the car and we just need to drive. And so we got in the car and we're driving. He's like in the back seat, laying on my lap, in and out of consciousness. And then we finally see the ambulance on the side. And we pull over, we take him to the ambulance, and the ambulance, does what they do. And then they take him off to the hospital. And the producers drove me back to the house. And I said, I'm going to go back to the house. I'll get him some clothes, and then we can go down to the hospital. I got back to the house. All the models drinking, fucking, smoking. And I just felt like, guys, someone just got severely hurt.
Could have been you.
Yeah. Exactly. And we're acting like nothing happened. And then the producer didn't want to take me down to the hospital. He wanted to wait to see if they were going to release him or keep him overnight. And I basically cursed them all out, and within 5 minutes had someone in the car driving me down to the hospital. I was like, he's in a city that he's not from. And when he wakes up, when he becomes conscious, he's going to realize he's lost a finger that he had before he wasn't, unconscious. And you're just going to leave him there because you want to know how it will be more beneficial to you to handle the situation. So that was not a great experience for me at all. Needless to say, overall, I love working with the company, and they pay very well. But because of that situation, I don't think I would be working with them again. Well, because it makes you think if something happens to me on set,
how are they going to treat that? Well, I mean, that's a little more severe than I expected to happen, but it's important. I think it's all a family. It's all a part of this industry, and you kind of want to make sure you're protected. I'm a firm believer of not coddling, but being very, very all about your models, because the models are the people that make your money. It's a two-way street, and if your models aren't happy, then
I was also happy with the fact that I don't know how all of this works, but I'm in the process of trying to get my own studio and things together. And if somebody were to get hurt on my set, I would do everything I could to help them. And especially, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I thought that they should have been responsible for paying his medical bills. You know what I'm saying? Because
he got hurt. Insurance. The company should have insurance.
Yeah. They told him to get on top of a car. He got hurt.
They told him to get on top of a car?
Yeah, he got on top of the car. Oh. Yeah.
Fun. Okay.
So everybody can know who I'm talking about. Yeah. Just go look for a scene with a white. Oh, damn.
Oh boy! All right. On a lighter side of things, who is your favorite bottom? I know you've had a lot.
My favorite bottom. You ready for it? So I just want to get this out the way before I say who my favorite bottom is. So he doesn't get mad. There's a young man named Derek Klein who I call my porn baby. Who has been accelerating very fast within the porn community. And he is phenomenal. I think he is a natural born star, and he's going to go very far. Now, having said that, I love you, Derek. My favorite bottom has to be Hayden Breyer.
Okay, Hayden Breyer. And why?
Do you know who Hayden Breyer is?
I may have seen him on...
I know, but he's not your type. He's not your type, no.
No?
No.
How come?
No. But he's this beautiful twinkie boy with an ass that... It looks like somebody took a twink and just like popped like someone else's. It's gorgeous. And I've heard awesome things about it inside and out. So,
oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Who has been your least favorite bottom?
My least favorite bottom.
That's just like, okay, this is work. Because you know what? I can probably answer this for you. For me, we had a shoot for Dark Alley or Raw Fuck Club, and I got to tell you, that was probably, and I think I texted you afterwards because of the fact that in 12 years, that was probably my worst scene ever. And I've done it all when it comes to like gangbangs and people being high on set without me knowing, and just a whole bunch of crazy shit. Yeah, it was 2019, March 2019. We did that shoot. One person walked out of the shoot. Yeah. And then I don't.
Oh
if
yeah,
you
I just noticed that she was talking about our shoot.
Yes, that's our shoot.
So listen, if you remember that guy's name, you can tell me so I can. If you want me to say it, but that was
what is his name? It's funny because he was nominated. He was nominated for.
He was nominated.
Yeah, he was in a gangbang that Nick Murray directed, and which the name, I'm not gonna lie to you, the name escapes me. But he was nominated for like a GVN. It was the first time Dark Alley was nominated. It was last year. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like expecting, I had high hopes. I was like, oh, this is really cool. It's going to be great. And then he got there and it was just like, all right, well. Yeah.
He couldn't even do a basic arch.
Yeah.
Avatar. It's like, arch your back. He's like a cat.
Oh, and my favorite part was...
I only stayed for you, right?
I absolutely appreciate that. You don't even... And afterwards, I texted you. That was It was one of my last shoots with Dark Alley. And it was almost... It just made me feel bad. Shitty. Yeah, it was very shitty because... here you have this model that everybody's worked with and everybody loves and all that. And then you get him and... after a while he walks in and is like, I've done so many movies. It's not me, it's you. Mm-hmm. One of those situations. And it's like, all right, well.
And I'm just like, buddy, I'm like two more horn, but I'm Max Konnor, so.
Yeah, exactly. No, I was like, does this guy know? And I think you and FX handled it as well as you could. Yeah. And that scene, if it had gone well, could have been fucking fire. It would have been like, you guys were all really good looking, all into it, all hot. And
I
then
want to work with him again.
FX, he's a good guy. Yeah. Good guy. So I think we're on the same page when it comes to that. Yeah. Who is, now that I know that you started as a bottom, or even if
started from the bottom.
Yeah, started from the bottom. Now we're here. Who is your favorite top? Either somebody that you've worked with or somebody that you see in the industry now that you're like, oh, okay, this guy's good. And you have to exclude yourself from this one. You already know who you are. Come on.
You know. Let's see. My favorite top. I think right now my favorite top would have to be Kate Maddox.
Okay. Yeah. I've worked with Kate. He's great. He is good.
He's a beautiful man. He's very chill. Very. I'm all about energy too. Mm-hmm. And so he's somebody who understands the performance side of what we do, and he carries himself extremely well. And I really admire him for that.
He's really cool. Funny enough,
he made my booty twitch.
Yeah, he saw. I saw pictures of him, and we were going to work with him maybe a year before we actually did. Mm-hmm. And I remember seeing pictures and I was like, oh, he's a good looking guy, maybe a little too good looking. And then I met him in person and he has that whole Southern thing. He's like, hey, what's going on? I was like, okay, this guy's really hot. Yeah. And then I did a scene with him. I shot a scene with him and Rick York. And it was verse, I think, or it was going to be, but then Rick was like, oh, just take me. And it just ended up being Kate Maddox topping Rick York. And it's a hot scene. So I agree with you there. Yeah. No, he's good. Crap. I don't want to say who's the worst top you've ever had, but who is somebody that you think could use a little more I don't know, knowledge of how to use what they've got.
You are going to get me in trouble. And I don't even know this young man. He's going to be all up in my DMs.
Hey, look, but at least but you're watching though. If he doesn't know you're watching. He's like, oh, dude, Max Konnor is fucking amazing, and he's watching me. All right, I got to step it up.
Okay. All right. I would have to say, and please don't hate me. This is all love. Willem C.
Willem C.
Yes.
Okay. Don't know him. I have to look him up. I will look him up now. Big guy.
Yeah. Oh, he's very big, muscular.
Okay. What can you say is something that's really important that, as porn models, right, or as adult models, we can kind of all band together and bring something to the light like that. That's happens.
Easy. I think we can all come together and band together and demand diversity and inclusivity. I'm in the process of trying to work on a couple of like workshops, and also I'm also working on. Well, I'm just going to put it all out there. I'm working on making an agency exclusively for models of color.
Okay.
Because a lot of producers have come to me and said, you know, there's just a lack of what we want and what we're looking for in models of color. And so if somebody can create a starting point for these studios to find what they're looking for. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. They think there's a lot of us out there, but there really isn't, because if you think about it, a lot of us come from different backgrounds, very, very, very religious backgrounds, especially if you live in the South and the Bible Belt, you know, and, you know, so most of us are like, okay, we'll do it, but you can't show the left tattoo on the back side of my right shoulder under my shin or something, you know? So I think that definitely needs to be including also letting people and models know what they're working on, you know, because I did this scene for Lucas Entertainment, and when the movie comes out, it's called Black Hawks Matter. And I mentioned something on Twitter about it when it came out. Jason Zhu mentioned something on Twitter when it came out. It became this big thing, and so he called me and asked me why I think I have a problem with it. And I was like, dude, if you don't see what the problem is with this, then you have a problem. And he was like, I thought it would be funny. And it's like, your sense of humor is not good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they changed the name. And when they changed the name, they changed it to Black Hawks Rule. You know?
Black Hawks Rule. Okay.
But the industry, it would be nice if we could start seeing men of color in movies. This is just me, people of color in general. Yeah. In movies without the title of it having to specify, hey, look what we did. We got a black guy. Oh, we got a Mexican guy. Oh, shit, here comes some Chinese. You know? And just let it be what it is, you know? I do believe that in the industry we are trendsetters, and I think a lot of what people learn about sex comes from us. And if we continue to promote categorization, you know, mainstream porn, Latino porn, all this stuff, then it'll continue to separate the LGBT community. Well, LGBTQI. X, Y, Z, and J, Z.
Jay-Z?
Yeah. Yeah, it'll continue to separate us instead of creating a sense of community standing together. You know?
Well, you know, it's funny you mentioned that, because I have worked or heard studios say, oh, well, we need a couple more Spanish guys, or we need a couple more black guys. Coming from a place of making money as opposed to, hey, let's be more inclusive. I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Because this came up recently. In Avatar, you were in this scene. It's the one from Dark Alley Raw Fuck Club that we shot in Chicago, and it's an orgy. We got some Spanish guys, we got some black guys, we got some white guys. Right? We shot this, and I'm talking to. Yeah, and I'm talking to Harlem Jock, and he's like, dude, I'm getting such backlash. And I'm like, why? And he's like, well, there are these guys who have a problem with the fact that I am a black guy and I'm getting topped by white guys. And I'm like, I don't understand. So he shows me the thread, because it's a thread. It's threading now. And I hear something, and well, I read it, and it's this guy that says, every time I see a black model get topped by a white model, it just brings me back to Thomas Jefferson or Andrew Jackson. I forgot who he used as a cultural reference. And I think to myself, you know, does that help the conversation? So I'm asking you, does something like that help the conversation? As far as, well, here you have this guy, you know, he's a porn model, right? Here's Avatar too, you know, porn models, and they're having sex with everyone, right? Like you're an equal opportunity fucker when it comes to models and stuff. But then you put it out there and people perceive it a certain way, and then they just, I don't know.
So here's the thing. I have a theory. I think this is a wonderful theory. I think that human beings are addicted to hatred.
Okay.
Why? I don't know. But we will always choose hatred and anger before we choose happiness and gladness. Take an instance, for example, I do it all the time. I go on the internet and I'll see 50 wonderful comments and I'm like, yes, bitch.
Okay.
I see one bad comment and I instantly choose to be discouraged by it, despite of all the other good stuff that's happened. I have been thrown every which way in my 2 years now? In my 2 years back in the industry, I have been called some of everything in my 2 years back in the industry. And the biggest thing that I'm called is a coon. And that's because there are a lot of people in my community who believe that I hate myself and I hate the color of my skin because I choose to be inclusive and have sex with all colors and not just exclusively black people. And so people will see what they want to see. I can make 10 videos. I started out in a black company. I can make 10 videos with black models and they'll get maybe 800 likes on Twitter. As soon as I post a video with a white guy, you'll get 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,000. But then they'll comment on it. Oh, all you ever do is fuck white people. Well, where were you when the last 6 videos came out with black people? So, and then they'll say, it's not the fact that you fuck white men. Well, what is it then? Because to be honest, anything that's not dark skin, they qualify as being white. Like, I've fucked light-skinned black men who they say, oh, you fucking that white man. And then I'm like, well, he's not white. So now it's become an issue of shades. And you're telling someone who is black that they aren't black enough and don't meet your standards of blackness. I view it this way. I said this on Twitter before. I got some backlash for it, but I'll say it again because I believe it. If you do an experiment, I think they actually did this experiment. They put a dog in a cage and they put a dog house in the cage. And then they set the cage on and the cage was an electric fence. So every time the dog tried to come out of the cage, he would receive an electric shock. After a while, they turned the electric off and they opened up the fence. The dog can leave whenever he wants. But now, because subconsciously he's been learned, if I leave this cage, I'm going to be punished. Instead of trying, he's given up. And I think that's a lot of people in specifically the black community. And that's why I always say that a lot of people are still enslaved in their minds because, they're afraid to leave the cage. And they stand and they bark and they yell and they're angry at all the other dogs that they see walking outside when all they have to do is simply walk through the gate. But they can't because of fear. What happens if I actually do this and I'm successful at it? I always say people aren't afraid of being successful. It's fear of what to do after that. Where do I go from there? You know what I'm saying? So some people look at me and they say, oh, black people don't get a chance in this industry and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, I'm black. And I kind of did it. You know what I'm saying? But I was determined to do it, mainly because I had nothing else to go and do. So I had to make it work. But I think a lot of it, because I get the same messages that he gets, and I think a lot of it is people just filled with hatred and not being able to let go of it. And no matter how much you prove to them that what they're saying is ignorant and wrong, they will continue to think whatever they want. You can prove them wrong all you want. It just comes down to the fact that where they'll just say, oh, well, I just don't think it's right. Okay, well, say that, but don't try to make me into something that I'm not. I'm telling you, they call me a coon, Uncle Tom.
Well, I remember you saying, because I think we had shot something right around the time you did Black Panda.
Yes.
And they gave you shit for that.
Well, it was the Avengers parody. It's called Gay Avengers. And I think originally they offered the role to Phoenix Wellington. He was smart enough, I guess, to not do it. I guess he saw the repercussions of it. But it's an Asian company. It's for Peter Fever. It's an Asian company. All the models were Asian except for the guy who played Thor and the guy who played Captain America, which was Dominic Pacifico. And so there was a scene where I was fucking... what was he playing? The Flash. And he was Asian. And at the end, I was playing Black Panther.
Mhm.
I was playing T'Challa. So, you know, at the end, during my cum shot, I yell, "Wakanda forever!" And everybody busts out laughing. I bust out laughing. We had to actually redo the end of the cum shot because the cameraman couldn't hold the camera.
Yeah.
It was a good time. You know what I'm saying? And what somebody did when the movie came out, some Asian boy took the clip, took 5 seconds of the clip where I say Wakanda forever, cropped the video so you couldn't see who it was. All you saw was little white legs dangling in the air, and put it up saying, "How dare Max Konnor say this while, you know, fucking a white man?" And I'm looking at them like, first of all, he's not white. He's Asian. But I understand if he's not black, he's white. You know, that's how you guys think. But second of all, I was like, let me get this straight. Everybody's been mad at me for almost 2 years now because I quoted a whole fictional, I quoted a quote from a fictional place, from a fictional story that was written probably by a whole white man. You know what I'm saying? And I don't understand. You know, people tell me, "Oh, you should see why that's wrong. You should see why that's wrong." I mean, I don't get it. Maybe it's because my mind is a little bit more open to understanding things. But it's just like, if anything, I think that's a symbol of liberation, bitch. I'm fucking this white dude. I'm like, Wakanda forever. Yeah. But what is Wakanda?
Yeah.
And why does it mean so much to our community?
If there was one thing that people don't know about you that you'd want them to know, what is it?
I'm an ordained minister.
Really?
I am.
Okay. So you've performed weddings,
I have. I was ordained when I was 14 years old.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So what have you done with your ministry or?
Nothing. When I left Georgia in 2006, that was the last time I stepped in the pulpit or did anything in ministry, you know. I kind of think of it as metonymy as far as church and stuff goes. You know, it's the contents fit for the container. So if I have some grits in the refrigerator, I wouldn't say to you, "Hey, can you go get that bowl that has the grits inside of it in the fridge?" I'll say, "Hey, go in the fridge and get me the grits." So now I'm going to explain what I'm talking about in a minute. So now the container has taken on the name of the contents. And I think as far as the church and all of that stuff goes, that actual physical building is not the church. It's those who are inside of it. And so I don't have to physically go to that church and deal with religion and hypocrisy and, you know.
Oh, God, we can go so many places with this.
I believe in my pillow.
Yeah.
If I go to sleep at night, when I lay down, if I feel good with myself, we're fine.
Okay.
You know?
All right. So I'm not going to take up any more of your time. You've been a delight. I'm very, very happy that you joined me.
Thank you.
So yeah, everyone, this is Max Konnor. You can catch him on Normail. You can catch him on plenty of sites. You can catch him on his OnlyFans, on your Just for Fans, right? What else? Am I missing anything?
No, that's it. Just for fans. I don't have OnlyFans.
Oh, okay. So you don't have OnlyFans. So just for fans. Damn. Oh, okay. Damn. Okay. How are you gonna do that when we finish this conversation? Anyhow,
who's out to have a part 2?
You've been watching Demystifying Gay Porn. I'm your host, Ike Grande. Demystifying Gay Porn can be found on every podcast directory as well as YouTube. Demystifying Gay Porn is on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Telegram. If you like what you're watching and want to be a part of the process, head over to patreon.com/demystifyinggayporn, where you can help this YouTube channel and I can continue making content like this. Once again, this is Demystifying Gay Porn. My name is Ike Grande, and if you watch gay porn, I've definitely helped to get off. Cheers.